Hey everyone, thanks for tuning in for this week's WorthWhile Spotlight. Before we get started, I want to give a huge shout out to Visit Columbia for being a sponsor and making this episode come to life. If you want to check out anything that has to do with Columbia, whether it's a local artist, local business, or local events going on, check them out at visitcolumbiatn.com and you won't be disappointed. But I'm going to give a thanks to my guest today, Charlie Thompson, for being on here. Just give me a little rundown about what you do, bro. Like, give me a little story, background, and we'll dive into some more questions and kind of get into the journey.
That sounds good. Well, I'm a YouTube content creator. I do guitar for a bunch of bands, and I'm a music producer from Nashville, Tennessee. Hey. That's what I do for a living.
Nice. I mean, we went to school together, so
yep.
High school. My personal perspective, I don't feel like we were ever close, but my perspective of it, you always had a guitar in hand or you were practicing music in some sort of way. When did that start for you? Was that earlier in the growing up stages, or was there a moment that you were just like, man, I like music, or how'd that unfold?
I started when I was 5.
5? Okay.
Yep, 5 years old. I played acoustic guitar. It was like the first one I ever got. Stupid guitar. I hated it. It was literally the most... I can say, because I fixed guitars now, I'm like, that was the worst guitar I've ever played in my life. Yep, I had high action, had problems, it made my hands bleed, but I played it until I was able to get a new one, and then I wound up getting one from my grandma, and then played it from there on. So I've been playing total for 23 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yep.
Nice.
Because I just turned 26. So.
Was anyone in the family musical?
Yep.
Okay.
I have literally musicians throughout my whole family.
Okay.
My grandma's a classical pianist, my uncle is a cellist and a vocalist, and then my dad is a famous lead guitarist for a band.
Nice. So it's kind of in the family roots with it.
Yep.
Was it ever a challenge to learn?
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, because I didn't start with lessons. I never did. I always basically was like, hey, I'm gonna teach myself how to do this, and then I would watch YouTube videos.
Hey.
And it worked, but I did learn bad technique, and I had to basically correct that with a teacher.
Okay. Was that what kind of technique was it? What do you think? Because I don't know how to play. I mean, I've picked one up before. I've learned a couple chords, but I don't know much about technique wise.
Basically thumb placement and basically over the years I learned how to control my tension in my hands and how fast I want to play. And then if I put too much pressure on it, it could actually cause you can get your wrist up.
Is it carpal tunnel?
Carpal tunnel.
Like that.
Word. I couldn't even think of it for a minute there. But the way that the thumb placement was, a lot of times when I was younger, I played it with the thumb up here, way above my neck, and it just created more strain on my fingers when I'm playing. Now I play extremely fast stuff as well as just more intense notes, and I play on a bigger scale length than most people now. So I had to learn proper technique to just control either my playing ability as well as control on the scales, because you don't want to be able to play like this because you want your fingers to move separate. It wasn't able to move separate because my fingers were stressing out and my pinky wasn't able to move as much. So yeah.
My only experience with that is the Guitar Hero back in the day.
Speaking of that, I just played Rock Band
Did you?
Yeah, just for a constant week straight, just because
nice.
We were having fun on at home, and I was just like, oh man,
it's fun to bring it back out. My boy Benji, you know Benji?
Yeah, I know Benji.
His ex in the past, when I was living with a couple roommates, she had the whole set from all the different Guitar Heroes, the different guitars, and there was a solid 2-week time frame where we were just getting it again, because it was just man, this is our childhood, playing all these songs.
Yep.
So I know you're mainly genre is metal, or is it, what would you classify your genre as?
My main genre is prog, I would say, because I do a lot of metal. Yeah, I mean that's
so
what
define prog though, because I don't think I've actually heard that.
Okay, yeah, prog is basically different time signatures, different melodies of guitars, and I'm gonna just put it out there. It's extremely hard to play. Okay. It is not like the I would say pop world or country world, things like that. That kind of stuff actually comes a little bit easier, in my opinion. Prog is complicated. It includes more stretches of your hands. It includes more finger playing abilities, basically, and the way that you pick is really you have to be precise. Yeah, it's strategical picking, basically, as well as adding your hand as a tapping and playing it like a piano, basically, on the guitar. That's what prog is, basically.
Did you get into prog because of the challenge of you wanted to challenge yourself, or you just like that aesthetic?
I really like the music. I don't know what it was, because I've always liked classical music, and I think that's probably a big reason why I went into that, because I'm technically a neo shred guitarist, but then I became more of a prog guitarist because I listened to bands that were odd time signatures and just weird, just makes you go, my head just that. I'm like, what the heck is this, basically? Not even the metal world. The metal world is kind of it's heavy and you just push people around, but the prog world is kind of oh man, it just makes you want to just basically move and just do things and just not really hit people, but just jam it out. So that was basically the reason why I was like, man, this sounds cool. I'm just gonna learn it. And then when I went into learning it, I was like, wow, this is opening up my musical experience to a different world. Like basically I was like, wow, I can do this with my hands now.
Yeah.
That's going to be a beneficial thing in just general.
Kind of open the doors.
Oh yeah,
like,
because like there's a little bit difference between playing a solo and then being like, oh wow, I'm playing a melodic scale to match whatever the singer's singing. So it's completely different than just doing a shredding solo.
Yeah, nice. You're about to go on tour, right? Mm-hmm. It's a Thursday.
Thursday, go on tour. Yep.
So what's the band name you're touring with, and like just plug that in real quick.
So I'm just doing some. So for this tour that I'm actually coming up right now, I'm rehearsing for 2 tours. I was rehearsing for my own tour as well as the band that I'm going on tour with this Thursday, which is called the Matriarchs. It's actually my buddy's band. I'm just kind of being there to help them with tech or do anything else that they kind of need on the tour. I'm also driving, which is fun too. Nice. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, they're called Matriarchs. It's the person I do YouTube with is her. Their name is Kay. They are they them. So I do go all that. But yeah, it's gonna be cool. We're going around for about they said 14, 19 days, something like that. So we're just getting everything planned out right now.
And this is the first tour since COVID time frame?
For me, no. Okay. During basically like last year, I went on tour with a bunch of country bands and just either did tech or I did playing like 1,000 Horses, and then I went out with Tim McGraw and a couple other people. So yeah, this is not my first tour back, but this is my first metal tour back, basically.
Gotcha. Yeah. You excited?
Oh yeah, 100%. It's always a cool thing going around the world and basically meeting different people at every single state. And now that I've done YouTube with Kay and the people know who I am now as well, it's going to be completely different because now they're going to be noticing us together.
Did you, during the COVID time frames and like being quarantined and stuff, is that when you really focused on doing more social media stuff and trying to be present there, or were you always kind of active with social media?
I tried to always be active with social media as much as possible because like I know that was like a job thing you have to do in the music world. You have to be present on social media to even make money, basically, as well as Spotify and everything. Just learning the trade of, hey, how do I get views?
Yeah.
How do I make money on this? And what money do I have to put out to make it back, basically?
It takes money to make money.
Oh, yeah. And it takes a lot of money. Like, everybody's like, oh, you pay like $600 for just a single to come out through a producer. Times that by, what do they say, 4 or 5. So times 600 by 5, that's what you're paying out to get.
In the end.
Yep.
Yeah.
To get all the marketing done, to get the videos
and
done.
And that's honestly possible exposure. I mean, they may still see it, but listening to it is completely different.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yep. And I mean, again, that's why we tell people, even with streaming and things like that, if you like it, if you share it, if you do anything, it just helps. It, like, no matter what you do. I know it's like one of those drag lines where people are like, oh, I get it, yeah, like, share, do all that kind of stuff. But if you do it, it actually does work, and the algorithm does pick up that there's more shares, there's more likes, there's more things becoming a thing.
Yeah,
basically.
more
and
engagement.
You're getting seen more.
Yeah,
that's basically what it is.
I want to circle back to this. Like, we reconnected probably about a year ago, I'd say, maybe.
Yeah,
somewhere around
about
there.
a year ago.
And that was over just like collabing of the brand, and like we'd reached out just about doing something together. Mm-hmm. I went to visit you, and we brought some apparel up there. And like one thing that stuck with me is you have insane work ethic. I got there and like we were catching up, but like you were zoned in. You were mixing and mastering 2 different projects. You were doing another at-home job, responding to I think emails, or I don't know if it was a call center type vibe or not.
No, I was actually an accountant.
Okay. Yep. And then you were holding a conversation and catching up with me and talking about WorthWhile and stuff. And I remember sitting there. I was just like, man, like this guy's, I could be doing more. Like your work ethic was just unprecedented. And I was wondering like if that's something that you've kind of just built up over the years, or have you always kind of had that mindset?
I've always had that work ethic, basically. And I've noticed that in the real world, you have to have a multitasking thing. And I think I really got a hold of that when I was on tour with these bands that were like selling out arenas. And you're like, oh, well, you got to run the audio. You got to run lights. You have to make sure that this person doesn't screw up. You got to make sure that person's body pack doesn't come off. Oh, that guitar went out of tune. You got to fix that. So basically, it became one of those things like, oh, okay, I got to keep going. And then multitasking. I was able to finally quit my day job, though, and actually go full-time music, which is great. Like production, doing all that kind of stuff, touring is back. So it makes no sense to have a day job at this point. But yeah, I mean, like multitasking is just something you have to do, and you have to do it well in the music world. Or basically, there's the people that are like, oh, I just do this. But if you have this compared to this, you're gonna get hired more than you're gonna get hired with this.
It's a track record.
Yep,
essentially.
That's it, basically.
Yeah, like I said, it blew my mind. I was just sitting there like, man, like you're doing a lot right now, and I was like, I need to go home and do more. So I mean, I take that as inspiration from me. I mean, like, or vice versa on that, but like it inspired me honestly, because I was just like, man, he's out here doing it,
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, I try to be an inspiration to a lot of people, especially my students when I did teach guitar. So yeah, I was like, hey, just make sure if you even put like 30 minutes of guitar a day, you'll get better by those 30 minutes.
Those gradual.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people are like, oh, you had to practice an hour. I'm like, you think that a kid is really going to practice an hour when they have other stuff they want to do, like video game or hang out with friends or go outside or do whatever, sports? They're not going to do that. And their parents were trying to push for things that they can get. So 30 minutes, I was like, 30 minutes a day, even 15 minutes. It's enough to just get you something going.
Something.
Yep.
Is that how you kind of, in the beginning, you were just like, every day I'm just going to work towards something?
No, I was really brutal on myself. I played 8 hours a day.
Oh, wow.
I literally would not stop. And that included when I was in high school, I would then go home from school, do homework, and then practice into basically midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning, and then go to sleep. And then wake up and go to school.
Well, there you go.
Yep.
I mean, you're like, that 1 hour is nothing. You're like, step it up, 8 hours.
Well, now that, when you're on tour and stuff, like you sleep, you basically, you're up from either 8 in the morning till about, I'm going to say midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. And then you might get to sleep, but you might be too, hyped up.
Yeah.
You can't go to sleep.
Yeah.
Basically.
Man. That's wild.
Oh, yeah. But I get good sleep when I'm home.
It balances out for the rest of the year.
Yep.
You're like, I'll get a solid couple months, and then I'll be
yeah, basically, that's it. And then learning how to sleep is very important on tour. I studied a lot of how to basically sleep, especially
these books or
books,
YouTube
stuff. Yeah, basically things to if I can only get 3 hours of sleep, how can I actually get 3 hours of rejuvenating sleep? And I learned all about it, cold rooms.
Yeah, let's say what's some of the stuff?
Cold room, definitely a perfectly temperature room, perfectly temperature blanket, which means including Egyptian cottons, things like that are cooling, and then having when I say nice pillow, I mean nice pillow. Nice pillows are the biggest thing. I never even thought that was a thing, and then all of a sudden I'm like, wow, having a different pillow actually does help you pass out and go to sleep and do the right thing. Because again, you're on the road a lot of hours, you want to make sure you do get some sleep, but you're not going to be able to get a full 8 hours of sleep most of the time. You just don't. It just doesn't happen. And you don't want to wear yourself out because then you start getting sick. And then you have to fight that. And then you have to get sent home if you're too sick. So you just want to keep working as much as possible. So learning how to sleep is important. And in bunks, in the tour buses and things like that, they're actually pretty nice most of the time because they actually have air conditioning. They have basically you can control everything you want. And then the other thing is don't sleep with a lot of sound on. A lot of people are sleep with music, do that kind of thing. You can, but sleeping with regular sounds and things like that, that's better than just having music going on, that kind of thing. Because I usually have either a metronome going on when I sleep, which people are like, what the heck, why?
Just a solid.
Just I have that thing that I can count back and forth and then I pass out. And then I can wake up in 3 hours and be pretty much rested and ready to go for the rest of the day.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. Do you a meditator at all? You ever get into meditation?
Yeah, I meditate every morning before I go to the gym, and then after the gym I also meditate, and then when I'm on tour I meditate before I go on stage. Yep.
Do you have a specific time frame that you aim for? You kind of just go into it with I'm just going to take this time with myself?
Usually I try to set a time frame because I know that if I do take time with myself I could go overboard. I usually set about 15 to 20 minutes. That way I can just kind of get myself prepared. Because if I'm about to go on stage, I usually have about 3 hours before I go on stage. I want to have that time to basically meditate, get food, do things like that, and I don't want to eat before I get on stage because then I might get sick. So you basically plan everything. I basically plan everything to a T before I'm about to hit the stage.
Nice.
And then when I'm off the stage, same thing. I don't do what everybody else does. I don't go party and things like that. I kind of just sit, relax, decompress, play some video games, relax, and then work on some music or something like that, and then get some rest.
When did you get into meditation?
Oh, good Lord.
Been a while?
Yeah, it's been a long time. I got into meditation because during COVID, actually, I think I got into meditation a lot more because I was wanting to do more. Basically, I was trying to control more emotions. And during COVID, I actually had a lot of bad things happen. Grandfather died, broke up with a fiance, did all that kind of thing. It just went downhill. So learning how to meditate and actually grasp a hold of what was really going on and controlling yourself, and just controlling your mindset, actually allowed me to write better music, better sleep, and then actually just work harder. So definitely during COVID is when I learned how to meditate more.
Was there anything else during that time frame? Obviously, you just said some bad things kind of unfolded during that. I mean, outside of meditation, was there some practices or anything like that you helped get your, like, I guess, mental focused on that? Or
Oh yeah, I've been doing like kickboxing and
nice.
I've been doing that for years. Kickboxing, taekwondo, jiu-jitsu, all that kind of stuff. So I've always been in like that kind of just mindset of controlling the body and controlling your aura, I guess you could say. So I've probably been doing that kind of thing for about 12, 13 years, something like that. I've been doing it for a long, long time. I did it since I was in high school, basically.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, it just teaches you, and I think it's a good thing to get an outlet, not just to learn how to fight or things like that, because everybody's like, oh, but you know how to fight now, Yeah, but the other better thing is I know how to control myself and control my body
aspect.
and discipline. Yep, self-discipline is number one in music.
Oh, see, I've never even really thought about it in that aspect. I mean, like, I write a little bit. I wouldn't consider myself like a musician or artist to the degree that some people are, but I mean, it takes an amount of reflecting and taking what's inside of you and making it an outlet into something, the creativity aspect. Do you have a creative process at all?
Yeah.
Or do you routinely do like, this is my process, or does it kind of just happen over time?
Well, I would like to say there is a creative process, but sometimes there's not. If I have like a project that I'm working on or something like that, sometimes I'll sit at the computer and say, I'm going to do this, and nothing comes about.
Of course.
I will go to sleep, wake up in the middle of the night, like literally probably like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the morning, and go, I have an idea. Go to the desk and then work on it. But most of the time I try to like separate things, because like I have my girlfriend and my dogs and all that kind of stuff that I want to kind of balance my stuff around. So I try not to do it too much anymore, and I try to make a creative process as much as possible, which is anytime I get creativity, I want to write something. But if I have a project, I will force myself to do it, like more than I will like, oh, I want to do this. I'm gonna
more
force
than
myself.
allowing it to,
allowing it to come out. But then as soon as I force myself a bit into it, it actually works. And I create things, and I start getting excited because I'm like, oh, wow, it actually sounds really good. Keep going, basically. So sometimes it needs a push, and sometimes it just hits. Like sometimes I'll be like, I'm gonna write a song today, and all of a sudden, boom, there's a song. And like probably a day I can write a whole song.
Nice. And that just lyrics, or are you talking like guitar, everything? You're like, I'll get tuned in, I'll make it happen.
Guitar, drums, lyrics, vocals, any sound design, anything like that, usually in a day.
Oh, wow. That's impressive.
Oh, I try.
So it's been years of practice.
Yep. And then just some of my inspiration just hits, and you just start going, and you don't feel like you're yourself anymore. You just kind of go.
There's a connection that I'm like starting to put together with. There's to the Meal House here in town, that music venue. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not.
I haven't seen it yet.
It's right outside of the square, a couple blocks up, but it's a 500-person auditorium. Same people did the sound for the Ryman, did the sound for it. But they host like songwriter nights there, and I was working one of the songwriter nights a couple weeks ago, and Blair Garner, the owner, he was, he'll have a couple people up there who play songs, ask him questions and stuff. And he had asked him I think he asked him something about his creative process, and he was like, honestly, I don't really just sit down and do something. He's like, I'll just go to sleep, and when I wake up, there'll be some lyrics in my head. And that's essentially what you were just saying, like I was just, if I sit down and try and do it, it may not just pop, but you're just like, oh wow, there's an idea, let me write that. What do you think that is? Because I feel like I experience it myself too. It's not like you sit down and you're like, this is everything that I'm going to write. It comes like to you.
Yeah, exactly. Man, how do I describe that? I don't even know, because like the thing is, I feel like it's just like something in your body. It's like, I can't say it's the brain, I can't say it's the heart. I can honestly say it's like either something,
your soul, maybe. Your
soul, it just grabs, like, yeah, something like your soul, because music is definitely my soul. Like there's inner demons of it, like in the soul, basically, and your music basically pushes it through. And whatever dark times you feel. Okay, I'll put it this way. Anytime I have like a dark thought or anything like that, a song will come out of it. Fair. And then I feel better. Yeah. I don't know what it is, but sometimes it just happens.
Transforming that negative into a positive. Not even necessarily a positive, but just getting it out of your...
Correct, yeah. That's sometimes how I write like the best songs I've written. Like right now with the band I'm working on, we wrote a song, and it was just like, I was depressed about that. I can't remember what it was, but I think I was really depressed about some things that were going on around in like either the music world or like family world, something like that. I don't know. Just felt it, and I wrote a song about it, and then lyrics started coming, and then the band was just like, wow, what the heck?
Like, where'd that come from?
This is gonna be a hit, basically. Like that's what our management says. That's what everybody was like basically going after. Was like, this is gonna hit. I was like, well, It just came out of nowhere. It just came because of like an inner emotions. And that's what I would say, like, because I did theater when I was in high school as well. I was like, it's your inner emotions. Whenever you have a feeling, you have inner emotions, you just go into it and then you start going. You basically write whatever you feel.
Into it.
Yep. That's it. And even with solos, like guitar solos, things like that. I'm not the person that's like I'm going to shred as fast as I can. I'm going to be like, I want to feel it. And I want to make people feel it when I play.
And that requires you going internally.
Correct.
And, yeah.
Yep, you have to. And if you don't, you're going to create basically products that you don't want. And again, like a lot of people are like, oh, write to make money, write to make money, write to make money. Don't write to make money.
No.
Because if you write to make money, you're going to make nothing. You're basically, and if you do make money, you're going to feel terrible about yourself because you're like, wow, I'm known for one song that I wrote that sucked basically in your mind because you could write better. So I've done that. I know exactly what that's like, writing country music, things like that. I've written songs just to write a song, and I was just like, man, I hate it.
But I'm sure it served a purpose during that time.
Yep.
Yeah.
It just served a purpose. It basically get you through whatever times you're going through, and then you go from there.
Do you find it easier when it's a sadder emotion to write, or are you pretty good at balancing, like when you have something positive happening, you can transform that into a song? Or
basically any emotion, I would say. But I do recognize that if it's a sadder thing, it's probably going to be more of a rock and metal kind of sound. Don't know why it is that way, but usually the times that you do feel sadder, you write like either a rock ballad or a metal song, basically. For the happier times, I'll write like a pop punk song, basically. Just send it off to a couple of my friends that play in pop punk bands and see what they say. That's usually it. So I don't really write much other genres than like pop punk or metal or rock or things like that. I mean, I write hip hop and then some pop beats sometimes, but most of the time it's just pop punk and metal.
Nice. Going towards WorthWhile, I mean, I know once we reconnected and like wanted to do some collabs and stuff, what sparked you about it?
Well, I love the brand. Like, seriously, like anything that's, again, like we were talking before, WorthWhile, that's a big thing to me because it's like there's the people that like basically you don't have to work as hard and you get somewhere, and there's the people that really have to make it worth it for themselves to like, oh gosh, I have to work double shifts to get this, I have to do this to get this gear, I have to get this to get all the stuff ready for tour. I got to make sure I have a day job that allows me to go on tour, basically. So that brand name, WorthWhile, and also the people I've met on tour, like just, depressed kids, suicide awareness, all that kind of, anything you can think of, that brand just kind of stuck out to me. I was like, yeah, that's more of what I'm about because like I'm very anti-suicide. I'm also pro-health, like help, get yourself help, do that kind of thing. So, I mean, yeah, that's why the brand stuck out to me, is because it literally fits every part of my scene.
If you had to give advice to someone that was like struggling with mental health or anything like that, I mean, what would you say? Well,
you're not alone, first of all.
Very true.
Try to get, like, literally, I don't care what anybody says, go get a therapist. A therapist will help you better than what you think. Confiding in a friend, if your friend doesn't work with you, that means they're not really a good friend.
Hey.
Yeah. You just got to...
That's straight truth
right
there.
Right there. And because if they can't handle in your hardest times, they're not going to handle in your best times.
Or don't deserve.
They don't deserve your best times. Exactly. So, yeah, you just got to find the people that really help you out with that kind of thing. And seriously, like, don't be afraid to call somebody, like, especially suicide awareness hotline, like that kind of thing. I've lost 2 friends to suicide. It's not a very fun experience, and it hurts. And all the people that love you, they're gonna hurt, and they're gonna feel it, and they're gonna have sad times. So cut the tides of it. Go get some help. Basically, just find it out. That doesn't mean go get drugged up on medication and things like that. That means go find somebody that you can talk to and at least relieve some of your issues.
You heard it right there. There's one thing I've been asking people: if you can go back to any time frame of your life, any age, and give yourself advice, what would that be, and what age time frame?
I'm going to say probably within the last year of high school.
Okay. Because
that was the time I actually almost got screwed over in a band thing. Because I joined a band, put out a lot of money, did all this kind of thing, and it never worked out. I would have told myself, hey, read contracts, make sure you study like the business of the music scene. Because I could have already been studying it back then and been ahead way further than what I was. I'm not going to say I changed anything, but like, yeah. That kind of help would have been great. And then like just literally watch your money. Like that is number one. You have to, especially if you're on tour and you're a band, it's like, oh yeah, you're young, they're gonna love you, all that kind of stuff. They're probably gonna take your money. That's what they are.
They take advantage. Yeah.
That's it. They want you because you're young, you produce a good product, and that's it. Like People say go get management. No, my bad. People say go get a label all the time. Don't do it. Like, labels sometimes will help you, but they're also going to hurt you. They're a bank.
I mean, essentially they're out for themselves.
Yep.
I mean, that's why they're there. I mean,
Yep.
they're there to make a profit just as much as everybody else is. So,
Yep.
I mean,
They say it's better to go to a bank and get a loan than to go to a label and get a loan.
never heard that, but I mean, it kind of makes sense.
Well, their interest is a lot lower than what a labels is. A labels is 6 years.
Oh, wow.
Interest
I didn't know
with
that. Is that across the board?
Yeah, 100%. Most of the time it's because if they give you money to go get any, gear or, things for tour, or they book you stuff, all the money you make on tour sometimes goes to you, but most of the time it'll go back to paybacks. Basically, oh, we paid for your album. That money goes back to them because they paid for your album, even though you wrote the songs. Then the other thing is like merch. I tell people all the time, if you can just supply your own merch or just get things online, do it. Because if you can get your own merch, you can make money. You can start making money. If you have to pay a little bit more money just to get people to buy your merch, oh well. But if somebody else supplies you a merch company and they start making your stuff, they're going to take about half of what you make.
100%, yeah.
No matter what. If not 70%. So I've seen things that are called the 50-50 or the 360 deal. 360 deals suck. Those are the worst deals.
What consists of that?
Let's just say my song sells for $1. We all get basically the 360 deal means, every time you get $1, you have to give them $1. So you make no money.
Yeah, what kind?
Yep. It's dumb. It makes no sense. Like, basically, I would have to make then $8 to even be profitable at all. It's a 360 deal. It has to go around in circles. And then also the 50-50 deal is you get 50, you get 50. I don't think they should get 50 because they didn't work as hard as we did to get what we did.
Actually, well, for one, you live in the emotions and stuff that makes to create it.
Correct.
And then you're actually creating it, and then you're playing it, and they're just distributing.
Yep, and that's why TikTok is blowing up so big, because a lot of people don't want management. They don't want labels. Like, management, totally fine. Get management. That's an important thing to have. They usually get 15% of what you make. Oh, well, they helped you get gigs. They helped you get shows. They helped you get to bigger places in your world. A label, they're just gonna kind of like take your stuff when they want to.
Like, thanks.
Yeah,
thanks for being you.
Yeah, thanks for being your artist self, basically. And a lot of bands, you can see a lot of the big bands like used to have labels and things like that. They're in a position where they've already made more money than what the label was giving them, and they can basically pay it back and be done at that point. I say A Day to Remember, because A Day to Remember is like a big band for me, as well as a lot of people know that band. They're a very, very big band. They had a lawsuit with their label because they weren't able to release a album. And I was like, they won against their label. That's a big deal.
Say, that sounds like it'd be a rare thing.
Especially for over a $3 million contract. That's a very, very rare thing. Because they were like, you can't release another album this year. And they're like, well, we want to. Then they were able to release their album. They got off that label, and then they got to a bigger label that actually paid them more money to be on that label than they had to pay back.
Sounds like they created A Day to Remember.
They did. It was a good. That was a good pun.
Thank you. It's
I
pretty
love
funny.
it.
Going back to it just sparked in my head when I was like, they're essentially taking advantage of you, like who you are, and you said like the artist version of you, and this is something I feel like I've battled with just as far as like WorthWhile goes, but like, what do you feel as if the separation of like your artistic self and then who you are? Do you think there's a line there?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, 100%. If they tell you, you have to make a pop song, you don't really want to make a pop song, and you don't want to do that. First of all, you'll get views, but you're gonna piss off a lot of fans. You really are. I've seen it happen. I've seen people go, "Oh, here's my song," and they're like, this does not sound like you. I'm not gatekeeping. I say, bands do whatever they want, but most of the time I know in the reality of it, you're going to have to make money by making songs that are going to hit. I understood this because I'm in a band that I actually do have to write like more radio hits, but I can be fun with my radio hits more than like, I just have to write a radio hit to write a radio hit. I can actually write things I care about and I actually want to write, and just more fun. But you have to separate it. You do, because there's a thing called fake, and you don't want to be fake. And a lot of people, I hate to say it, in the music world, most of them are fake.
Fair.
Even industry plants are fake. That's what we say at this point, because we've seen it. We know the diagrams basically, and we've seen what happens. And it's just like you either basically you get it or you don't. That's how it works.
You think, bringing that back to TikTok, do you think that TikTok was a great exposure tool for that, just giving everybody their own platform?
It is, and it isn't at the same time. In my personal opinion, I think it's kind of mental that all these artists that put in lots of work into what they do don't get views, but then these people that just do stupid things get major views. Or like they release a song that's like 30 seconds and it hits more views than what somebody worked, hours on, and it's a solid song and it makes a good hit basically. I don't know. It has also shortened the attention spans of people nowadays, because now you can't go through. I've noticed, because I sit with my friends in the car, they can't listen to one song straight through, ever, really. They have to always change it. And it's always either after the first chorus or after the second verse. And you're like, why?
Yeah.
And you think about it like, oh, well, you only get 30 seconds, a minute, or sometimes 3 minutes on TikTok. Just depends on what you're producing. And your mind kind of works as like, oh, I can swipe up. Keep swiping. That's the thing. So TikTok does help, and it also hinders at the same time.
I've never really thought about it like that. I mean, I know just in general attention spans like going down, but like just looking at that comparison right there, like I've never even thought about that, and that's true. I mean, it's true. I personally listen to majority of the songs all the way through, but I can see that being a big thing. It's wild.
Yeah, I mean, some artists I've seen on there have written amazing songs that have hit off, like Gail, and I'm trying to think, Olivia Rodrigo or whatever, like when she released her songs and things like that. But there was a plagiarism thing with that, because she took a lot of riffs from Paramore. And that was a huge thing, because Paramore is a big band, and also you have the people that were like, hey, the music theory people like I am, I'm like, wait a minute, that's the same key, and that's the same chords. That's kind of not good. Even though you changed up the first part, doesn't mean you didn't change up the chorus. The chorus is usually the catcher. So if you write something that sounds too much like it and it's a chorus, you're gonna get fined. 100%. That's what happens. You will either get fined or you have to give some kind of respect. And she finally did. She was like, yeah, I have to give correlation to Paramore, basically. I have to give it to Haley and all that kind of stuff. I was like, yeah, that's what should happen. But like some people, they do a bunch of covers, they do things like that, and I've been very fortunate myself to make a living off doing covers and writing fun stuff, basically, because of the YouTube and then also the TikTok game.
What's your favorite thing to work on?
Oh, covers are real fun, especially if you're making a pop song. Like right now I'm working on some 90s stuff, which is real fun.
Nice. And
just making them heavy or like more rock or prog. I'd say my favorite thing in the world right now is actually writing some of the radio metal stuff I've been doing, because I've been able to experiment with like different keys and like different tones, basically, and not just like it has to be overly complicated guitar wise or drum wise or anything like that. It's speaking to a different audience and understanding, why does my verse catch this person's attention, and why does my chorus catch this person's attention? And why does my we used to make breakdowns that were complicated and just overdone. Now we can make we can make a breakdown that sounds complicated to us, but it's super, super simple. And it's like, hey, it gets more views and you hear things. So I've been studying that actually, because I'm like, wow, there's something that they're doing. There's a recipe,
a formula.
Yeah, they're writing something that, because I still like it. I mean, I've been listening to bands like Bad Omens and then Falling on Reverse and then Breathing Horizon, and I've been like just studying because they've been on the radio. They're constant on the radio, and you're like, what do they do that's different than what I'm doing that I can try to not copy but simulate what they are doing so I can get more views or push myself or do more things that the management wants us to do so we can actually get it pushed a little bit more into the world.
What's one of those pinpoints, do you think, that you've taken from studying that?
Writing really good, catchy choruses. And I've always been really good at writing
musically
chorus.
And vocally, or a combination?
Musically and vocally. Like, your guitar has to simulate what that vocalist is going to do. And it has to add not just a melody to it, it has to add the rhythm. Because I hate to say it, more people are going to care about that rhythm more than they're going to care about that lead. Sometimes they'll care about the lead, but usually it's your rhythm that's like, oh wow, that's the driving point. That's the thing that pushes you. And then the drums. The drums have to be solid. If they don't, there's not going to be a single person that's like, da, 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 like that kind of thing. As soon as I hear a drum beat, chorus, I'm like, that's catchy. And then the riff comes in and you're like, that's even catchier. And then you hear the vocal melody and you're like, that's it, that's the hook. So it just works as a formula. It's like, oh yeah, your drums are your backbone, your guitar is going to be your mains, and then the vocals are going to be that thing that grabs them and throws them, basically pulls the audience in and says, hey, watch us.
Is that the first thing you listen to is the drums? Any song? Or
Oh yeah, 100%. Because I can play any instrument, play guitar, drums, bass, cello, violin, anything you can think of. But my first option is I always start with drums because drums are actually a very much base point to writing music and good songs. I do write guitar usually, like to start it with, but then I will go through and I will rip guitar apart and put drums in there as basically as surgical as possible to match what I'm trying to make the song feel like. But yeah, drums are number one, I believe, because they're just backbone. Because like anybody can sing a regular chorus, anybody can play a guitar tone. When you play the drums to it and you put those certain beats and those certain measures and there's certain just everything in between of it, it really does create a feel. Especially bass, like having a bass in your chest and you feel that kick. When I'm playing live, I know for a fact not many people are giving like too many craps about me playing guitar. They want to hear that guitar, they want to hear those drums go dun 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 dun, and they love it in the chest. And that's literally what we have, our subs and our synth and all that kind of thing. And that's another thing, sound design. Sound design is, so it's drums and sound design, I think, that are number one. Having a synth, writing good leads for a synth, and then writing subs, and then writing bass, and just doing everything in around it just to create that more subsonic frequencies for people to be like, oh wow, that hits way harder than it's supposed to, basically. Because at regular rock world, they write just guitar, drums, and bass. The new radio metal genre, basically, that's been going on is it has a sub frequencies. So it shakes the car. It has the drums, it hits you in the chest. It has the guitars that are down-tuned and just heavy and low, basically. Causes the riffs, the drums to kind of mash together. Then you have the bass guitar that kind of pulls it and glues it together, and the vocalist just sings around it and makes it work.
Ties it together.
Yep. I'm telling you, the vocals are like that hook that grabs. Because whatever you write, people are going to be singing.
Sure. Which is the whole term hook.
The hook. Yep, it's called the hook.
Yeah.
Yep. It grabs them and pulls them in.
Nice. That's exciting, man. So you got projects coming on the way?
Oh, yeah, a ton.
Okay.
A ton. I've got so many projects right now. So I have one that's secret that I can't really talk about.
Fair.
Because it's we're under contract and things like that. But when it releases, people will know, and they can't wait to show it and share it.
Where will that be under for future?
It'll be under a band. I can't tell about the band yet because of the management stuff. But we'll be releasing things that are very much a very popular thing, and it's going to be kind of blown up because of what it is. And then it should be released under Mr. Shreds later on, but it just depends on what the management says. But then I've got my YouTube stuff with Kay, where we'll be covering some new songs, things like that. I can't really talk about too many of the ones because we're trying to release things that no one are doing yet. And then I've got...
You don't want people getting
I don't
juice.
want people taking my stuff. No, I don't want to take my ideas. And then we're doing... Basically, I'm writing this new pop punk song that actually is going to be hopefully produced by Travis Barker.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, which is insane because I wrote something that didn't know that anybody would like, and it caught on real quickly.
How did he stumble into it?
Actually,
Do you know?
TikTok.
Okay.
Yep, that's it. Like literally a TikToker I was working with. I sent over a sound clip of what I was working on, and they were like, "Yeah, this is what I want," and he sent it over to them, and that was it.
Wow. See the power of TikTok being a double-edged sword.
Yup.
I mean,
it is a double-edged sword. It's like one of those things that's like, wow, you put a lot of work into it, get no views, and then you're like, I could be stupid and post things and just get views and just do your thing. And then it's like, oh, well, some songs actually hit. The big people do hear it, and they're like, wow, this is awesome. I think it's a great platform for creators. I think it's better than Instagram and Facebook.
Definitely.
Because it allows people to actually create more projects and also just work together with a huge fan base, basically. And my favorite thing is actually that the fact that metal TikTok and pop TikTok, like pop-punk TikTok, are blowing up more than regular pop music now on TikTok, which is hilarious. And people are covering pop songs, making them metal, and they're blowing up more than the pop song did.
Why do you think that is?
I think people want different. I think a lot of people are getting sick and tired of the old, 4/4 beats, writing the same pop music,
The
writing
old formula.
the old formula. And then like when somebody covers it and makes it heavy,
You're like, whoa.
even the pop people are like, that's cool, that's different, that's a different thing. Like I've been watching people react to some covers on YouTube, and this basic white girl, basically I would say that's what her name is on YouTube, and she's like,
You're like, I'm not calling you out. That's your
no,
name.
that's her name. That's her name. She reviews all these bands that are like super metal, and she's like, I kind of like these, and I was like, I guess it's because the formula is changing, and we're changing a platform of, hey, you know, the metal vocalists can actually sing, and they can sing usually pretty well, honestly. Some of them are insanely trained to do what they do. Especially my vocalist, like he's insanely good. He's got perfect pitch. Like basically, he's good. He knows what he's done. And knowing somebody like myself, I have perfect pitch as well. I'm like, man, some of these vocalists that are coming out, they're insane, and they're doing things that I've never thought that metal would have been able to do, and now we're doing it.
You think metal's the new emerging genre?
I think it's
sense?
coming back.
Coming back?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, that's a better way to put it. Yeah.
100%. I think it is because I hear it more on radio now than I've heard it on anything like Octane or anything like that. Octane is like just a streaming metal service basically on the radio. But like 102.9 The Buzz is playing these bands that I'm like, wow, I found this band years ago and now they're on here. And you're like, what the heck? I think it's just because people either have gotten bored or the emo phases are coming back or something. I don't know.
I mean, everything is repeating. I feel like retro's coming back. Like, yeah, it's just like that. Music,
it is.
Yeah.
Yep, the 80s are coming back in the music scene because people want to put synth and they want to put like, German pop music basically in it. And like, there's a band called Electric Callboy. They're insanely marketable because I sit there and I listen to their stuff. I'm like, wow, it sounds like German house music with metal riffs. And you're like,
I'm gonna have to check that out.
This is catchy. And you're just like, you just find yourself going, they have songs, their choruses are awesome, but then they have taglines. Like, you're like, whoa, that's going to keep in my head, basically. And then you can't get it out of your head.
It's one of those, you wake up the next day and
Yep,
you're like,
you're just
it's going to be in my head all day.
You're just like singing it. I remember they had a song called Hypa Hypa. It was trending on YouTube.
By them?
By them.
Okay.
Yeah, it was trending, fully trending. And everyone's like, a metal band is trending on YouTube. This is insane. What the heck? Like, that's crazy. And then like you're like, as soon as you listen to it, you're like, oh no, it's stuck, and you can't get it out of your head because it just keeps going on and on. And then the music video, you watch the ridiculous music videos that they do when they dress up like the 80s. Like literally, I'm talking like they have, what's that called? The mullets,
like
all that kind of
wigs,
stuff.
Yeah,
The mullet
perm,
wigs,
getting the
perms.
When are you gonna get your perm, bro?
Man, I'm still on that shaved sides and colored hair, basically, at this
do the
point.
perm in the middle.
That's the mohawk. I know some people are working the mohawk again, like the Liberty spikes. But yeah, dude, I mean, it's crazy how much stuff is actually coming back. I'm like, man, they're wearing jumpsuits now.
Oh, yeah. The stage attire.
Yeah. I'm like, what the heck? We used to wear, my mom was talking about it. She's like, we used to wear that in the 80s. And I'm like, wow, we're coming back to this.
It's funny because I've heard my parents say the same thing. Like, we used to do that when we were your age. And I'm like, that just means it's coming back.
I think history repeats itself in multiple ways, even in the music genre. And I think metal's on the comeback because of that reason, because people are like, it makes sense to have something different and not to have the same old formula, basically. 4/4, same beats, same measures, same hip-hop style, things like that. Let's change it up. Let's make it fun. That's what the whole genre for me is. It's like, and my favorite thing is hearing people say, I really like the way you did that pop cover, because I'm like, yeah, I thought outside the box. And some of my pop covers are not just like super heavy. A lot of them are like, wow, there's orchestra in the background. There's synth, there's sound waves, there's just ambience, there's sound design, there's all kinds of things. Because I grew up in the world of like the video game world too, and having sound design is number one in a video game. You can swing your sword all you want in Skyrim, but if that music and that sound design didn't hit, it wouldn't sound that cool.
I can give you a perfect example for that. Halo.
Oh, dude, I've been playing nonstop. Okay, I did not know that I was going to be maxing out my Halo character again until Infinite came out. I've been playing Halo constantly. You too?
So I just played the online for Infinite. I never got into the campaign yet. I fully wanted to do like a run through with like Benji and a couple other people and do a run through, but it just hasn't happened yet. But I know when I start I'm gonna be locked in.
Yep.
Because I mean, back in the day, Halo, I was all in. So
that's all it was. Yeah, we played Halo and
might be one of the best games in existence. Storyline.
Oh yeah, 100%. And now we have a TV show.
Have you seen any of it yet?
It's amazing.
Don't tell me anything.
I can't. I'm not gonna spoil it. No spoilers. I promise. I can say that they did really well, and the person that paid for all the stuff that happened was a huge fan.
Okay.
So
nice.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
I do gotta say though, it's not canonically correct.
Okay.
So it's not gonna follow stories. It's not gonna follow anything like that. But the way they do everything,
it's its own.
It's its own, and it's phenomenal. And it's a good way to capture people that are like, I've never played Halo, and then it's like the people that are like, we're original Halo fans.
Yeah.
We know what this stuff is, and there's Easter eggs and all kinds of stuff in it.
Nice.
So it'll make all of us happy.
Yeah.
I think it's awesome.
How do you think the perspective is from someone that's like seeing the show, but it's like younger than us that's never played Halo before?
Man,
that's got to be a wild perspective. Like, what is this game? And then I mean, you probably heard about it before, but to see it and never play it before, you're probably like, I gotta play this now.
Exactly. I think it's the people that are like, we know Master Chief. And like I think that's the marketing. It's like, oh wow, we know the green helmet. You see that green helmet, you're like, Halo. Yeah. That's Halo. You know that's Master Chief or the energy sword. And you're like, wow. But seeing the new generation who have, started with Fortnite and they did what the heck is that? Apex Legends and all that kind of stuff. Just the player royale kind of style games. And just they're like, what is that? Like Halo? And we're like, all of us people that are like, they're like, we started with this. We're like, yes, this is what we want. This is exactly how it's been for us, and this is what we want to play. It's different because you're like, wow, these kids are a lot better than us because they 100%. Have a little bit more time. Yeah. And having PC available, that
changes it. Yeah,
a different world because once you have a keyboard and a mouse, kind of makes it like more of a you click and play basically because you can just click anywhere and you can do whatever. With us, we had controllers. That's what we did.
You were limited.
Yeah, we didn't have really insanely good PCs until starting with, I think, 2018, something like 2017, something like that. That's when we started getting like high-powered PCs. Yeah. Same thing with the music world. Like again, with audio production, you have to have a computer that can run all that stuff because their stuff is getting massive. It is getting bigger and bigger every single day, and especially any of the voicings of orchestras, synth, anything, you gotta have stuff to run it. You have to, and that's the same thing with gaming. Which it's funny because music and video games kind of work together.
I mean, essentially, yeah.
Like Doom was one of my favorite games that came out because I love just fast shooter games sometimes, and Doom, the music. I'm a huge fan of Doom's music in general, but like when Mick Gordon was designing all the stuff to it, I really studied it because I was like, there's something about this.
It's not just the game.
No, it's just something about every single time you kill a demon that makes you feel insanely powerful, and it makes it just hit harder. And you like the music is it because you're like, wow, when that fast guitar part comes in or that demonic scream or whatever would kick. You sit there and you're like, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense why this game is so fast paced because the music's going real fast and you're shooting people and you're going around like crazy and just doing what you're doing. It's the music that makes that game even more solid, basically. Nice. I watched Mick Gordon and I also took lessons with Mick Gordon. Like I paid for some lessons to really understand his sound design so I could go in and start sound designing better for my game, my stuff I do, like my projects, as well as movie stuff and just music in general. But yeah, man, it's funny seeing all the people, the kids, like, oh wow, what's Halo, or what's this, or what's that, or I don't know what this is, or and seeing them like kind of grow with it. Some of them are just like, I rather play Fortnite, and I'm just like, wow, that's
on you.
That's on you. And then the Lego games, man, Lego's come back in a heartbeat.
It never really left if you think about it.
It never did.
Outside the game, just like that, it's just a child's toy.
Yep. I mean, exactly. With Lego Dimensions, where you can build your own stuff and put it in the game. But then
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, it's like my roommates are nerds, so we all kind of work and build things and do things together. But it's funny because we just got the new Lego Star Wars game. It is absolutely phenomenal. It's an open world Star Wars Lego game, and you're like, what the heck? EA of all things couldn't make that for us, but they could, and it just goes to show you. Sometimes it doesn't matter of the criteria. Even the graphics in Lego games have improved immensely, like Unreal Engine 5, all that kind of things.
That's a crazy program. I actually downloaded the program just because I was looking into getting apparel stuff. Like my mind switched to like the whole VR world for a little bit, like since NFTs and stuff like that were taking off. But I was like, I need to somewhat put my attention on, the virtual world that's happening. And like I actually looked into Unreal Engine 5, and like they're making an open world platform that like they have classes online that you download it for free, and they have classes on how to make stuff, how to build things, how to program it, and like there's thousands of classes on there. But eventually I think that's just going to be the way it's all going to just slowly change to,
because of VR.
Yeah.
Yep. Because I would say Oculus. I have an Oculus, and I've played many games on it, and it's crazy. And seeing the graphics that we've got now in it, yeah. or the hand tracking that the new Oculus does, that you can basically play without a controller. You use your hands, and you're like,
that's crazy.
That's weird.
It's crazy.
Also, if you get motion sick though, you're gonna get messed up, though, because because when you're not moving, and like my fiance, she gets extreme motion sick sometimes. When she was putting it on, she was kind of spinning around like this and doing all that kind of things. She's like, whoa, too much, because you're moving in the game, but your body's not moving, so you feel like basically feels like you're on a boat.
Yeah.
I don't know if you played a VR yet.
A couple times.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's a different experience because you're like, whoa, I'm not moving, but I'm moving in the game. That's weird. It messes with your brain. So then you have to learn how to tell your brain, I'm not moving.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm playing a game.
We're fine. You're not moving. But yeah, dude, the Unreal Engine, I've seen it a lot now, because especially with the one band I'm in, we use it a lot for making our music videos.
Okay.
Because we're CGI and we're doing all kinds of stuff. Yeah, it's a big project what I'm doing behind the scenes. But it's crazy, and just seeing the world come together in it. Oh my gosh,
it's unreal.
It's
I got a lot of fun.
You did another one.
I got you again.
Yes. Oh man, it really is unreal, because it's like you can't tell what's fake and what's real anymore. You can't. Like, I've seen it. No. Like, I've played many guitars, and like we were on Unreal Engine, and somebody put one in front of me, and I thought it was just a photo, and he goes, no, that's Unreal Engine. I was like, what the heck? Because I can spec a guitar out. I'm like, oh yeah, I know exactly what that looks like. Well, now these guitar companies that I usually go through to get built ones, they have an Unreal Engine builder, which is...
See, that's what I meant with, like, it's slowly...
Yep.
Everything's slowly going to be built in that.
Oh, it's crazy.
Hey everyone, unfortunately we had some technical difficulties with this podcast, and we lost the last 10 minutes, unfortunately. But fortunately, we kind of just started talking about video games and things like that, which are still great, but we got the core concept out. And I still wanted to put his information in. If you want to find him anywhere on social media, it's Mr. Shreds with a Z at the end. And we're also going to post his link tree information in all the bios. So never forget you're worth it, and thank you for watching.
Thank you for tuning into this week's WorthWhile Spotlight. Our goal is to motivate people to become the best version of themselves possible through the power of storytelling. Our stories are written by the things that we experienced growing up, and these experiences, negative and positive, shape who we are and what we stand for. The beautiful thing about your story is that you get to decide how it's told. So as a diamond in the rough of life, hang tight and let your light shine bright.